most of these labels are more concerned about protecting the company, but not protecting the victims of sexual assault and abuse, which is terrifying. These alleged predators are not getting any type of punishment, but their survivors are if they speak out. And to me, that's just unjust. I'm not going to be intimidated by these power dynamics anymore. I'm going to speak out, and I'm not going to stop.
How many NDAs?
Alexa Nikolas is a former Nickelodeon actress turned activist. She has been advocating for survivors like herself who have been taken advantage of by people in the music and entertainment industry. She is now leading a movement titled Eat Predators, and she's here to talk all about it. So let's get into it. Alexa, what is Eat Predators?
Oh God. So Eat Predators is a survivors-led movement. We're trying to end the cover-up of sexual abuse within the music industry, to put it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and honestly, I've been so impressed with everything that Alexa has done. And I was like, you need to come onto the channel because you guys know we call out the corruption in Hollywood. And Alexa's doing it with the movement and with these protests and everything. So what has inspired you to really kick off this movement?
You know, I think it was my own personal experience that I had with the music industry. I think after having to go through all of the evidence during my litigation process with Milos and starting to see how involved the music industry was, it just started to give me a lot of red flags. And then when I started poking around, I realized there were hundreds and hundreds of victims, you know, within the music industry, and I wasn't alone. And so that was what really kind of made me go, all right, well, someone has to do something about this. Like, now is the time, but how do we do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, where do we begin? Where do you begin?
And what strikes me about your situation is that Alexa was married to a man who's part of a band called Rye, Milos, and his agency, his management, they were super involved in their relationship in ways where, you know, Alexa was proposed to so that this guy could go on tour in America because he was an American. There were certain business moves that were almost a part of your relationship up until when you were divorced and you pretty much had a faulty divorce contract NDA situation. So,
the stipulated judgment. Yeah, the bizarre release language that was hidden in the creditors section.
Yeah.
And they were CC'd on that email.
Yeah. So these, I mean, they have, you know, a goal here. They want to make money off of this artist. And I think what's great about this movement is that you're disrupting this, I guess, formula or this protection that's going on behind the scenes where they just allow this bad behavior to happen and they support it. Really, they enable it. So
they financially reward it.
Yeah. And on it, when it comes to the name, where did you, how did you even come up with the name Eat Predators?
Well, it was inspired by an alleged predator. No, well,
yeah.
Well, what happened was I found out that Diplo was playing in the middle of the streets of Melrose in an ice cream truck, which was kind of bizarre. And it was an all ages show, which I found pretty concerning, considering all of the past allegations. And so I don't even know what made me think of it, but it was like, I reached out to all my music industry survivor friends and was like, we should go and protest, at least let the girls in the audience know about the allegations. So if they don't want to be present, they have the right to leave. It was more to inform the audience members who were there. And so only 3 other people were around because it was an hour before the show. And so they RSVP'd via text message. And I was like, what is my sign going to be? And ironically, Diplo was playing a show for Eat the Rich popsicles.
Oh.
And so it said, Eat the Rich. And I went,
oh my gosh, Eat Predators.
Yeah, totally. It was
great.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even think it was going to become what it's become. I just thought it was going to be my protest sign. But when I saw how people were responding to it, I was like, okay, maybe we're on to something. And so it's catchy in a way where people are remembering it. And so many people are agreeing with it, going along with it. So that's what kind of created the name for Eat Predators movement.
Did he see your sign? Did he notice you? Did he see you? Do you think?
He went in the crowd. We
Yeah.
went in the crowd, and my husband was like pulling me through time and space. And I was like, no. And people were shoving us, and like it was actually pretty violent. I had a
Because those people
volleyball.
were like diehard, or some were probably like diehard fans, and then you're over here like he's a predator, and they're
I
like,
was like, eat predators.
Yeah.
Like it was so awkward because if you see in the video, everyone's like jamming and having a great time, and we're just protesting.
I
And then
remember seeing that.
it's wild. And so at one point, Diplo looks up and he just freezes, you know? And I saw him look at my husband's sign. I don't know if he ever saw my sign, but I know that he saw my husband's. And
Yeah.
you just saw him be like trying to avoid it, but you can't because it was like literally in the crowd and pretty big. And so it was awesome, to be honest. I that was one of the most badass parent date nights we've
Yeah.
we've ever had. I was like, Nova, if you only knew what we were doing when you were a toddler, when she's older. We have some stories now.
Yeah, right. That would be, I mean, that's iconic. And when it comes to Diplo, he's, I believe, managed by Sony, right?
Yeah, so his record label, I think, is Columbia, which is owned by Sony. And I think Sony UK is actually handling him specifically. So yeah, Sony.
So it's been super impressive to see you build this like movement on social media, but it's also been very much in person. Alexa has been going and protesting like every Thursday pretty much for the last, past couple of weeks. At different spots, like for example, red light management, where Rye is part of that. And I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about like some of those people involved. Like, can you just give like a little like synopsis? Because sometimes if you guys were to go to Alexa's Instagram, which I will link below, you'll see that like she's got different like people's faces and their names out here, and she's calling them out directly and picking up on connections that are going on here. So can you just like give like a general idea of like what type of corruption is happening behind
So
the scenes
basically, so there's just a silencing game, really. I mean, in a general way, there's just a silencing game happening within the music industry where, let's say, an artist got sexually assaulted by another artist or someone within, the label. Then you would go to HR, and then HR eventually would then take you to like probably the vice president of the label. And I made that question chief of NDAs for Julie Swidler, because that's basically her job in a lot of ways, is to protect Sony, protect the company so that Sony's not getting sued, for example. So most of these labels are more concerned about protecting the company, but not protecting the victims of sexual assault and abuse within the industry itself. So they would rather silence it than report it or get justice for the victim. They're more concerned in protecting the company, which is terrifying if you actually think about it. That's just straight up corruption. That's scary. That's really scary. Silence is violence, because if we don't know what's happening in there, then we can't help, and that's why it's pretty scary to me. I want to know what's happening in there so that we can participate and help.
Yeah, and I love like one of the messages you have on on a sign. It's talking about like freeing the survivors from their NDAs. I feel like when we're talking about silence, some people like might be like, why don't they just speak up? But there's a thing called an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, and this is typically a legally binding document which can silence someone. It's not supposed to silence crime, I believe, right? Like I feel like
it's supposed to.
Yeah, but a lot of times it does, because if you have an NDA in the first place, like, I mean, trust me, some celebrities, I guess they need them, but like a lot of times they have it for a reason, because there's something to hide. So an NDA is a red flag. So let's talk a little bit about like release. So there's a bunch of survivors out here who have, had terrible experiences with these artists and their agencies, their management. So like, what would releasing them from their NDAs do, and why is it important to like send that message?
Well, because I have come across many survivors that want to be freed from their NDAs, because with time, they've realized, obviously through social media, we've all become more educated about certain issues. A lot of people didn't even know what was actually happening to them during that time. They didn't realize they were getting pressured, or they didn't realize the power dynamic, etc., until as of recent. And so there are many survivors that want to tell their story, And some of them want to go get justice, but they can't because of these NDAs. So that's why it's so deeply devastating, is because there are survivors out there that really want to share their stories with us and really want to go seek justice. And they're tied up in the NDAs. And the NDAs are so broad that literally, if, let's say, the survivor goes to a media outlet and tells the media outlet about the NDA, for each click, like each click is a $60,000 fine sometimes. So imagine the pressure. Like, even if they want to say something, then they get punished if they do. And that's the biggest problem for me, is that these alleged predators are not getting any type of punishment, but their survivors are if they speak out. And to me, that's just unjust. Like, that's just not fair.
Yeah, and there's a lot of money in the music industry too, right? So it's like these people, these survivors, like, who have gone through this, they don't have the funding, that Sony has, or these people to go and do this. So it's like, really, they're trapped.
Yeah, power impacts consent. I mean, we're really starting to learn that as, time goes on, but power really impacts consent. And so if you have a really unbalanced power dynamic happening, is that really consensual when they signed it? I'm not really sure. I think it is debatable when you have some company like Sony, where they feel that if they don't sign the NDA, they're going to lose their job. And guess what? This is the wild part, is a lot of the women that did sign the NDA got fired, and the CEO got to keep his job.
Wow.
There is an article actually where you can put it below, the Rolling Stone, on Samantha Maloney and Stephen Cooper, which I went to go and protest in front of Warner about that. That's what happened. She ends up getting fired, and he's still the CEO of Warner. And you're like, what's happening here? It just sounds like the survivor keeps getting punished and the predator keeps getting protected. And that's a problem.
Yeah. And I love how, like, applicable the movement is to so many different things. And it's not just like, a targeted movement. A lot of people can be a part of it. A lot of people can share experiences with it. And a lot of people can even go and join at the protest. There's going to be a protest at Nickelodeon, which I'm really excited about. It's on Thursday, August 25th from 12 to 2 at the Nickelodeon headquarters.
In Burbank, yeah.
In Burbank? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'll
you
give
guys,
the address.
Yeah, I'll link something below or put a pinned comment or something. But that's something you guys can even join. And I mean, any Thursday that you're in the LA area, it seems like there's a protest going on here. So
there is.
I just want to talk about the signs that you have. Like, they're chef's kiss. Like, I love them. Like, they're just so good. So if one of you guys were to come to the protest on Thursday and you want to see us, like, what type of signs do you have? Like, what do they say? I just, like, love them. There's, like, the NDA ones, survivors. There's the eat predators. Then there's, like,
how many predators?
Oh, yeah.
How many predators? And then there's, like, Sony equals complicity, which I love. The Sony is phony was one of my favorites. It was a great chant as well through the megaphone. Yeah. It was really great. And then what's another one that we had? I mean, with the Milos one, we just literally quoted an email he sent me, which I felt like that was enough,
Yeah.
Like, that felt, I don't feel like I need to say much. His own words really speak volume. So putting his own quote on there felt like the right move to make. And then with Base Nectar, obviously, that whole thing is just bizarre, like, just bizarre, especially since these girls were coming to the shows and coming backstage and around, and they were 16, 17 years old. And you're going, why aren't any of the adults there finding that concerning or wanting to intervene or at least investigate, and ask the proper questions? It seems like they were just looking the other way and also helping get access to these victims, which that's so scary. But the signs have been fun to design with my husband. We've been making them together.
Yeah, how do you even print them? You go to the store and print them?
We have a printer. So ironically, my husband, this is so weird. Like, a month ago, my husband bought a printer because he's making a book. And so he got this really nice high-end printer. And it's so funny. He's like, well, at least it's going to a better cause than my book, because he thought he was going to be using it just for his book. And now it's just been for the protest. So yeah, I was like, well, it worked out for us. It worked out for the survivors, because it's expensive.
Really, put that printer to work.
And it's really been working day and night. It's been working.
Are you gonna make any, like, Dan Schneider signs? Yeah. Like, you are. Oh my gosh. A lot of people, I think, are super
crazy. there's one I won't even post it because I don't want them to even know that it exists yet.
Does it
But
have
when
like a
you,
foot
I'll
or
send it to
something?
you after. Like, you can
Okay.
see it.
Oh my gosh.
But it's so insane because we have a graphic designer who's now handling all of our ePredators, like social media. And so he made it the other night and I looked at it. I literally dropped my phone. I was like, whoa. First of all, Dan is a spooky individual. You know, when you just see him straight up, sometimes it's like, whoa, you know, it's a little bit jarring, but the way that he did the graphics, I feel like that one's
so good. I think people are really excited for that kind of Nickelodeon focus because there's just so much like the era of you guys, like even like you on the like I don't know how most of these people are still like so relevant. Like I mean, of course, be relevant, but I'm like Jeanette McCurdy's over here, like #1 bestseller. We got Dan Schneider like popping off on the internet all the time. Like people are so invested.
I know.
In
people have been calling me nonstop about him too, like reporters now, and it's like you guys weren't even listening 2 years ago when people like you, for example, so many people have been calling this out for so long, and it's like, oh, because it takes a book, you know, and now media is like, we care, and it's like, well, where were you when you did that New York Times spread that literally glorified him?
I know, and announced that he was coming back too, which I'm like, is he back? Like, I'm scared.
No, he wanted to come back. It was for him. He was like, can I come back? And it's like, no.
I wonder if he paid for that piece or something.
I wonder what happened there too, because what I find weird is that they never called me for comment, and there was many Nickelodeon stars that didn't get called for comment, and that was surprising to me because so many of us have things to say. And so why didn't they at least do proper due diligence to figure out, you know, who had something to say? But I still don't get it. I still don't understand how this was under the Nickelodeon rug, whatever you want to say, for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an verbally abusive. When I was hearing what Jeanette McCurdy was saying, I couldn't, it was straight up how I experienced him as well. The alcohol part, no, because we were 12 or whatever at the time, which thank God, but his abusive nature, as you know, I've said, that's pretty spot on. That's pretty spot on. And the NDA, and that happened with me too.
Oh yeah. I remember talking about that. Like,
and I realized recently it was 2019. It wasn't 2018. So this was recently. I was having to send it to a reporter, and I looked and I was like, wait, it was 2019. That wasn't even that long ago that he was doing that. Scary.
Like preparing for this almost, like his downfall.
His downfall. I wonder what he's thinking right now.
I mean, he's gotten like skinny now.
That's weird.
He's got that going for him. I know, right?
I only picture him like the way he was.
Can you imagine? Like, you can't even visualize it. You're like,
no. I honestly can't. Like, he is who he was to me when I was younger. I can't see him any other way. I could never. But that's what's cool about ePredators is like, you know, obviously we're talking about the music industry, but we're also just talking about predatory behavior in general. And a predator doesn't
entertainment. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And like the entertainment industry is one big predator, in my opinion. So I think predatory behavior is not just obviously sexual abuse. It's any type of abuse. It's finding weaknesses to exploit. And we see that time and time again in our own personal lives on different levels. So I feel like everyone can participate on the end of predators. I'm just over predators personally.
Yeah. And
I've hit my wall.
People can go and check out you on social media and follow the movement. But how can they help? I guess coming out to protest and just kind of like spreading the word.
Yes, spreading the word.
Are you guys selling shirts yet or no?
We're about to.
You are.
So that will be donation based. So that just goes right into like helping water, SPF, you know, signs, and also helping people get their Lyft rides. Like there are so many people that want to come but don't have the finances. So we want to help support them to bring them to the protests. So we're going to have t-shirts, we're going to have mugs, we're going to have canvas bags, and we're going to have sweaters. And then we're starting a Patreon, which I think will be the best way to do the donations, because I think that way people can pick their tier. And then, you know, if someone's living in Europe or someone's living, you know, somewhere else, they can participate without having to be present. There are some people that I'll literally get messages from some survivors of the music industry who are like, I want to come, but if I show my face, like I'm going to get sued. And, you know, this is it's so scary. I mean, no one realizes like how many people are living in the shadows because of what the music industry has done to them. You know, and so any way that they can help participate, I'm now trying to open up that door. So it's like either through $1 or buying a t-shirt or hashtagging or just, spreading the word is the best way. And then the podcast.
Yeah. So you've got a podcast coming out at some point. It's not out yet, right?
No. We literally just filmed it yesterday.
And it's like you with another survivor or two other survivors. Yep.
Yeah, it's 2 other survivors, like a round table kind of. It's me, Kaylee, and Neela. And Neela's great because she is not within the music industry. She's kind of the beyond. We call it Bed Bath and Beyond, but she's kind of the beyond aspect. And she unfortunately has a child with her abuser. So she brings a whole other, perspective to everything that's just outstanding. Like the stuff that we were talking about yesterday blew my own mind. I keep thinking I know everything kind of now, and then it's like, nope, there's a whole new layer of it. So she really brings an incredible aspect to it. And then Kaylee is an actual survivor from the music industry as well. Space Jesus was her abuser, and he sued her for defamation and then offered her $80,000 to get out of the lawsuit because he lost, basically. That's the sad part about litigation abuse that these abusers do, is that they literally will use the justice system as another form of abuse. And you see it time and time again with defamations. And usually what I'm starting to think is like, how much is the music industry involved in that aspect? Are they helping them with lawyers? Like, what's actually happening there? Because why is it so easy for them to just be doing all these defamations left and right, and then they're going to stay on the label? And I feel like because of the defamation, that's what helps them stay on these labels, because they're like, I sued her, so I'm innocent. And it's like, no, that's not exactly how it works. Defamations are usually to get someone to settle. That's usually where they end up, is with a settlement and silencing. And then they have to make a public announcement like, I'm sorry, or I didn't see this the way that now I see it, or whatever. And you'll see these like press and you're like, oh, money. That's usually what ends up happening. And that's the silencing game over and over. And I'm so over it, Sloan. I can't even tell you.
It is all so connected. I'm like legal, then we've got the music and the management, then we've got the press and the media, how they leverage that.
And so lawyers.
Yeah.
And you're like, what exactly is happening here? I'm just trying. I feel like I'm Alice in Wonderland lately. I'm just like tumbling through like this rabbit hole. I'm like, where is it taking me? I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I'm figuring it out a little bit.
It's really awesome and super impressive. And I think it's so powerful that you are like uplifting people's voices, and it's very personal. Like I could tell it's not like especially, I don't know if it's like just because it's the beginning of the move, but you're just so involved and everyone so well and personally, and like going to these rallies, there's just a lot of love there. So I think it's like so great, and like so many other people like seeing this, and then I guess like hearing the podcast and all that, it's just going to be like comforting.
Survivors united. I mean, that's really what it's about, because survivors feel so alone, and so we're trying to get everyone together, and so we can amplify each other's voices. And honestly, I feel like all of these protests have done more healing for me than most of the therapy I've done. Yeah. Which is bizarre, but I actually feel like I don't know, being able to yell on that megaphone, there's something therapeutic. There's something really therapeutic about a protest, like standing up for yourself and standing up for others. There's nothing that feels better than that. That's just like humanity right there. It feels good.
Love a good protest. Like even with the Free Britney movement and stuff, like there's, of course, people can do, be impactful online, but it's like a good classic in person, like with other people yelling, chanting, like putting yourself out there. That's like, there's nothing like it. So it's
visibility. It creates that visibility aspect. It's like,
and people are paying attention now. Like you've got the media paying attention to you. So
that's going to be wild. Wait, are you ready, Sloan, for the following week?
No, I'm scared for the lawsuits or whatever. The cease and desist letters I want to collect from this.
You know what? Now I know people are probably like, why is she laughing? But honestly, after this hell that I went through the last 2 years, the levity has been just so important, because you start to realize the absurdity of all of this shit. You're just like, what? Fuck fuck it. Like, I'm not going to be intimidated by these power dynamics anymore. I'm going to speak out, and I'm not going to stop unless, like, I don't know, I end up hopefully never in the back of a
In
truck.
jail. Oh my gosh, no, stop. I mean, LAPD, they're supposed to be corrupt, so I don't know.
Wait, what'd you say?
The LAPD, you know, they're allegedly
Yes.
corrupt, so I'm like, girl.
Well, yeah, I don't trust that. Yeah, I don't necessarily. I have security for Nick though.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
I'm just a little bit afraid. Well,
I'm kind of nervous too, girl. I'm like,
I
that
was-
seems the most scary.
It's
It's like, are we going onto a lot, or is it just on the road?
It's on the sidewalk. No, we're not going onto the lot. It's like there's all this like sidewalk access just right in front of the building. So we'll be totally fine. But I just don't know. This is the first protest that I kind of really showed where it was before the day of, because I've been trying to keep it pretty hidden because people sometimes just show up and you never know who's going to show up and if it's safe per se. Yeah. So this is the first one I've really just been like, hey, we're going here at this time. Here's the address. And so I had to call some people and go, can I have some protection? Yeah. Can I have some protection? Because I'm a mom now. That's like what I don't want anything to happen to me because of like Nova.
Yeah, you got Nova. Like
I cannot. Nothing bad could happen to me. So I was like, okay, this time I'm gonna ask for security. So you might see. I'm gonna ask you if you can spot him out.
Yeah,
he's totally gonna stand.
He'll be like big guy dressed in all black, like walkie-talkie.
It was like, who the fuck is that? But it, sometimes you gotta have protection because you just don't know. Nickelodeon's gonna be crazy. I don't even know what's gonna happen.
I don't either. I'm scared of Nick too because like I've talked about them in so many different ways. Like you have your own thing, I have my own thing. We kind of have a thing like going on together. So I feel like we're maybe like on some type of list somewhere.
We are definitely on someone's list. That's for sure. Someone's like, these two, what's going on over there? But really, we're just good people.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing all of this, organizing it. It's so difficult. Like people say like, how do you edit a video? How do you do this? Like that's a walk in the park compared to all the things that you're doing right now. I can't even like fathom how you're handling it all just because you're like a teacher. You're like, it reminds me of like school teacher. You have to organize everything. You have to like get out the materials. You got to get your students at the right place at the right time. Like
I was so nervous doing that. My friend was like, am I a human PowerPoint? I was like, yes. Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. It's a lot.
And the live streams are so good too. Like on her Instagram, she goes live and like will speak and like give talking points and things like that. And it's like super inspiring. So congrats on it.
This Nickelodeon one's going to be crazy. I need like a line of people. I feel like for this one because there's so many layers. So I really got to orchestrate that starting today.
Well, it's gonna be a lot. We'll try to get this video out and hopefully someone will come from YouTube.
I would love that. And I'm going to see you there.
Yeah, I'll be on time this time.
Yeah, please. I was like, where is Sloan?
I'm always like an hour late. No, not this time. I'm going to be right on time. Okay,
I'm happy to have you there.
Thank you so much for coming on my channel. It was so nice talking about this, and I am just like really excited to watch it grow and for people to learn about it. So thank you so much.
So much hope.
Hell yeah. You guys can check out everything linked below. Go and check out Eat Predators. There'll be a podcast. There's social media. Just go ahead and follow Alexa while you're at it and just keep up with the live streams because you guys will see us there on Thursday. So until next time, I'll see you guys in a new video soon. Bye, guys.